Will now be recorded.
Hope my screen is visible. So can anyone confirm?
Yes, Pramod, it is.
Okay. So let's recap what we have discussed yesterday. Yesterday we have discussed about some basics about the screens and how to navigate, and we are like getting familiar with the SAP screen. So yesterday I discussed about like how to make transaction code visible in IMG screen, in SAP Easy Access screen, and also in the configuration screen. And after that we have discussed about, so to navigate to an activity, so we have as a SAP FICO consultant or any consultant in practice has two options. One is to navigate through a path, or else another one is navigate through a transaction code. And so in easy access screen, if you know the transaction code, how you can navigate to the path. So this is the transaction code we use to input our transaction code and navigate to the exact path. After that we have seen like what and all, like where used tr. So either you can click on this and go for utilities, and you can click on where used in the transport, or you can select it and you can directly click on this where used in the transport. Either way it will work. Now we have discussed about our organization structure. So to be brief, we have XYZ Limited. So XYZ Limited is our main company. So under that company, so this is the main branch located in the, this is the head office which is located in the USA. So now under this company we have two company codes. So this company is operating in two locations, which is in India and which is in US. And this company has registered their company in the, as per the Indian Companies Act, and as per the US Companies Act they registered it as XYZU. After that XYZI, XYZU we have, and after that we have branches there. In XYZI we have Andhra Pradesh branch, and we have uh, Andhra Pradesh branch and Hyderabad branch. Whereas in US we have New York branch and Chicago branch. So branches will be classified in SAP if FI in FI module as business area. Now, so in the CO we will be defining these branches as profit center groups. This is one scenario where you can take Andhra Pradesh and Hyderabad as a business area, or else if the client in the sense XYZ Limited want to see a particular line of product profit and loss. Okay, so suppose this we have, so the XYZ Limited is into two product divisions. So it is manufacturing trains and also cars. So under the cars, so in Andhra Pradesh, it will be manufacturing the cars, correct? In Hyderabad also, it will be manufacturing the cars. And also in the same way, it will be manufacturing the trains also, correct? So what we'll be doing is, we'll be creating the business area with the product division where branch is concerned. So under the Andhra Pradesh, we'll be creating trains Andhra Pradesh and cars Andhra Pradesh. So these two will be creating under the Andhra Pradesh. Now, after that, under the Hyderabad, we'll be creating cars Hyderabad and trains Hyderabad. After that, in the New York also, so in USA, we have New York and Chicago. So there also the treatment would be same. Now, if I call trains AP, if I call trains AP, I can know the profit and loss for the trains for the in the AP branch for the train segment. And if I call cars Hyderabad, now I can know the cars division profit or loss in the branch Hyderabad. In the same way, applicable to the New York and Chicago. Now, we have a concept called consolidated business area where we can find the so consolidation. We can assign this business area to an higher node so that if you call that higher node, these business areas will be called. For example, I have cars in AP, cars in Hyderabad, and so cars division in New York and cars division in Chicago. Now, if I want to know what is the profit and loss of the cars division across the company, so across the company in the sense across XYZ Limited. Now, what we will do is we'll be creating a consolidated business area as cars con, which is nothing but consolidation area for the cars. And here we will assign all the business areas, with respect to cars, only cars. So cars AP, cars HP will be assigning this so that when I call this consolidated business area through a custom code, then all these business areas will be called up and I can see a consolidated way for the cars. So I can see whether my cars across all the branches in a company code or in all the company codes, whether it's running into profits or losses. Now, after that, we have, so to manufacture the cars and the trains, we need to have some departments running, right? So to maintain the internal IT system, suppose say the systems, suppose say they are using SAP. So to maintain the SAP, they need an IT department. So there are any other softwares where they are using. So to support that, to assist them with the access to some MS Office or something like that, they will have an IT department. And after that, they will, to produce these cars and to produce these trains, they will have production department, whereas sales and distribution will support in the sales and promotional activities. You have an admin department and research and development to improve the cars and the trains. So how this department can be classified into the SAP? This can be classified through a functional area where you will be activating the cost of sales account so that it will be stored in the functional area. Only when you activate the activate the cost of sales functionality, then only you will be seeing the functional area field in the while creating the master data. So functional area can be created at the GL account level. When you are creating the GL account, there you can assign the functional area, or else when you are creating the cost center, there you can assign the functional area, or when you are doing the transaction also, there you will have a functional area field so that you can assign that there itself directly. Now, either you can use it as a cost center group. So why we have two functionalities? Maybe a client uses only FI and they don't want internal reporting CO. Then this functional area will support them for the reporting purpose for an individual department. So if they have FI CO, mostly they will use one of the functionality or they have an option to use both functionalities. Because for external reporting, if you want to see the departmental view, then in F.01 you will just you will be inputting the functional area and all the GL accounts which are created under this functional area will be called up and that will be showing in the balance sheet. Whereas cost center groups, in the cost center groups you can create n number of hierarchies. So for example, I have created a cost center group. Cost center group is a company code level data, because if you are creating any cost center, you will be creating and assigning that cost center to a company code. So you will have a cost center group as a first company code. After that, you can report it into a plant level, or else in that plant you can report into a cars. So in a plant, in the cars, what is the production department cost and what is the SD cost? So like that we have that feasibility to to maintain n number of hierarchies, but in the functional area we don't have that feasibility. We only have to create this department, that's all. We don't know, like for XYZ company code, so what is the production department expenses, correct? So that to go to that level, we can suggest them to maintain cost center groups. Now after that, we have discussed about the credit controlling area. So what is credit controlling area? So it will be specifying the credit limit of a particular customer. So FI consultant, what FI consultant role is to configure the values in the credit controlling area. So how much extent a company code is eligible to give the credit to its customers. Now when I am saying customers, there will be a number of customers, correct? So if they have X, Y, Z. So for this, a predefined credit limit, to define the credit limit for a particular customer, this is the duty of the SD consultant. He will be defining the credit limit of a particular customer. We will be defining the credit limit of at the company code level, client level. And so what about the currency? So when you are creating a credit controlling area, it should be same as company code currency. And after that, so we can assign a credit controlling area. We can assign a credit controlling area to number of company codes. Suppose I have created this credit controlling area with 1 lakh value. So this can be assigned to company code A, company code B, so that now the limit is controlled by this controlling area with these two company codes. If I am, for example, if I have used 50,000 in this company code, and if I am trying to use, 60,000 in this company code, then the system will won't allow, because when we combine this company code A and company code B as a whole, it is exceeding the credit limit which we are maintaining at the controlling area level, so that it will be triggering you an error. But to assign a credit controlling area to two company codes, uh, there is one point. So there is one condition where the credit controlling area currency should be same as the company code currency. So in our case, our company code currency XYZI is Indian company. So the company code currency is INR. Whereas we have XYZU, which is a US company, its company code currency would be USD. So that we will be defining two credit controlling areas. Now, after that, we have defined like how CO is, how we can, how the CO structure would be. So first we will be defining a segment, which is a line of business or products that the business is delivering. Suppose say our XYZ Limited is, so we'll be creating the controlling area as XYZL, and we'll be having cars and trains division. So we'll be defining cars and trains as a segment. After that, what is profit center groups? So in the profit center groups, I can define in the same way as business area, like in the AP cars profit center group, and AP train profit center group, and Hyderabad cars, Hyderabad train, same as same available for New York and California. Like that I can assign. And after that, you have production, you have the departments, right? So department level cost also I can see it based on the cost centers, correct? So the logic would be, when I am creating a cost center, I should assign a profit center to the cost center. The second criteria is, when I am creating a profit center, the profit center should be assigned to a segment. So I am creating a profit center, you will have a field called segment. So in that segment, you will be assigning the segment. So in that profit center, I will be assigning the segment. So while you creating the segment, there is no assignment. It is just a variable. You will be creating variant. Okay. Now, so after this, we'll be discussing about currencies. So currencies in the sense, let's take our example. So let's take our company codes. We have these are the currencies. So our company is also intended to report. So Indian company is also intended to report in. So first it's a local currency, correct? INR, and after that this should be reported in the USD. Okay, and after that we also have a reporting requirement for the UUR also. In UUR also, if any transaction happens in XYZI, it should show in INR, and after that, based on the exchange rate currency conversion, it should show on USD, and based on the exchange rate currency conversion, it should show EUR. And whereas in the US also, we have the same requirement. So in US company code, here also we should be showing it as USD. USD is the company code currency, which is a local currency, and also you should show in INR, and also you should show in EUR. Okay, so now this is the requirement. Now let's know how many currencies we can define in S4 HANA. So in S4 HANA, we have 8 additional freely defined currencies. We have 8 additional freely defined currencies in S4 HANA. But and total currencies are 10 currencies you can define. But you only can define 8 additional currencies only. So what is the two currencies which are already predefined? That one is company code currency, and another one is group currency. These are predefined. So the company code currency will come from company code. In the sense, when you are creating a company in OX02, let me show you. So in OX02, you'll be creating a company, right? Or else I'll be taking to you the path. So in the path, in enterprise structure, in definition, in financial accounting, here you have seen edit, copy, delete, check, and company code. So now let's go for edit company code data. So here, when I am creating a company code, so let's take this company code. Here you are creating a currency, right? This currency is called company code currency. So in OX02, the currency which you have given is called company code currency. After that, you will have a group currency. So from where the group currency is updated? Group currency updated with the controlling area currency. So controlling area currency which you define in the controlling area will be the group currency of the particular company code. Now, where, so what is the group currency? Where the group currency is assigned? So group currency is nothing but the client currency. Group currency is nothing but client currency in the sense. So I have this client, right? Client, what is my client? So this is where you can see in which transaction. So if I click on this, I can see what is the system, what is my client 100. So what is my user ID and which program I am in, or else which transaction code I am in, and this is the response time of your, like, based on your internet, how much so it's going, what is the round trip. So this is irrelevant for us. These three are irrelevant, and only you can find. So these five are relevant for us. So you can find what program it is, so that in the background, if you can go for SC38 and you can run this program, so that the same screen will appear here. I said, right, in a transaction code background you will have a program, so you also have a transaction code. If you go to this transaction code, you will be so this will be a view, okay, based on the database. This transaction will show you. Okay, now, so now we have defined the company code currency. So company code currency, while you are creating a company code, which currency you will be giving, that would be a company code currency. And the group currency is the client currency. So where you can see this client currency in SEC4. In SEC4 transaction code, you can see the client currency. So what is my client? You can see my client is 100. So this is the this client currency would be the my group currency. Let me take this screenshot of it. Okay, so your group currency would be your client currency. So my client currency is USD, correct? So this client currency is set based on your head office. Okay, so this is the this is the test system. So in this test system, we have our currency as USD, so that we have no option. We should also use our company code currency. When you are creating a group currency, you should define your head office as USD, correct? Then only there will be no inconsistency in your configuration. So if your client currency is USD and you are setting your group currency as INR, so you will be you will be like you will be getting an inconsistency in your system. So the best approach is, when you are in a test system, you can change this currency, right? You can change the client currency when you are in test system, because this is the higher node, right? So the higher node is client, after that operating concern, after that chart of accounts and the controlling area. So that is the node which you follow. So the same way this group currency is maintained at the client level. So after that, you will have hard currency and index currency. And apart from this, you will have freely defined currencies. Freely defined currencies. Now, so where you will be defining this hard currency, and where you will be defining this hard currency and index currency, where you will be defining these hard currency and index currency at the country level. For example, so above platform, general settings, set country. Here you have defined country or region. So if you see here, this hard currency and index currency is at country level. So if I am creating my company code XYZ, let me okay. So if I am creating this company code, right? This company code is located in where? India, India, and this company code located in United States of America, USA. Now, so at country level, you can define hard currency and index currency. So for India, hard currency and index currency will be different, and for US also it would be different. Let me go to the positions and I'll give US. So country US, if I double click on this, I can see hard currency and I can see an index based currency. So if you go for help in the hard currency, it will show you specify the country specific second currency. So in the country specific, if it is hard currency is used in the country with high inflation. So if a country has an high inflation rate, then we will be using the hard currency. In the same way, if you don't know anything with a particular field why you are using, you can right click here and you can click on help. So it will show you currency key of index based currency. Specify the currency, it is fictitious currency. So an index based currency is a stipulated for external reporting, for example tax returns, in such countries with high inflation rate. So this hard currency and index currency we use when a particular country has an higher inflation rate, so that we are bound to report in a other currency other than the local currency. Correct? Now, so where we will be defining this hard currency and index currency? So in this path, if I give this in this country, if I give the hard currency and index currency, then by default, we can use these currencies in the system. So there will be a transaction code OY01. So for this, the transaction code is OY01. Either you can go by the path or else you can go with the transaction code. Now, after that, you will have the freely defined currencies, right? So freely defined currencies, you can go for FINSC underscore. Either you can go with this T code or else you can go with financial accounting, and you can go for financial accounting global settings, ledger, ledger. So here you have defined settings for ledger and currency types. So here you will be defining your leading and non-leading ledger, where we will be defining that in our upcoming classes. Now, so here if you see, you have a concept called currency types. If I double click on that, you can see your currency, right? 10 is the company code currency and these are the group valuation. So you can evaluate these currency under different valuations for the material ledger concept. You will be defining this in the material ledger concept, where I will be showing you in the upcoming classes. Now, let's only target about our currencies. So company code currency will be defined in the system as 10. Now, so this is the company code currency, right? This will be defined as 10. And after that, group currency. So group currency will be defined at the system with the code at 30. Okay. After that, hard currency. Hard currency is 40 and our index currency is 50. 40, 50. So freely defined currency, in the sense you can add your currency custom. So see, they have added, you have Y1, right? Y1 is a custom currency where the user has freely defined. Okay. So you can use this currency type and you can assign it to your particular company code. For example, you have here currency conversion, right? So this currency conversion is used like in your company code. In your company code, I have, so company only knows my company code currency, correct? So my company code currency is INR. So apart from this, from USD also, the system should convert it to INR for you, or for like, sorry, my transaction currency is INR, right? So INR will be the local currency. When you want to show your reports in USD also, the system should convert the INR value to the USD, right? So how the conversion is, how it should convert. So in this company code, if you are converting from 10, which is company code currency, to 30 group currency, use a standard translation average rate, where I'll be explaining you when you are maintain, so how you maintain that, and after that the translation date, so when the translation happens. So like that you will be defining in the system. For example, I said you have leading ledger and all the non-leading ledgers. So in the leading ledger, you will be defining to be in the IFRS, correct? And also you have non-leading ledgers. So I said to comply with the local reporting, you will be using the non-leading ledgers. What is a non-leading ledger? A ledger other than the leading ledger is called as a non-leading ledger. We use that non-leading ledger for the reporting purpose. For example, if I check this leading ledger and if I go for the company code settings, in that leading ledger, for example, let's take this company code. So I said we have 8 freely defined currencies. Yes, we have 8 freely defined currencies, but I told like one currency is a local currency, is a company code currency, which is already specified by the system itself. So we can't edit it. And also one is a global currency, which is the group currency, which comes from the controlling area. For example, this is the company code, right? If I go to this transaction code, so you have here 1010, correct? So this, for this controlling area, this company code is assigned. Okay, now let's see what is the defined currency. So here the currency type is defined, correct? And also the currency is defined as USD. So once you define the group currency, this currency will automatically updated based on the client which I have shown you. Okay, now if a currency is updated here, that will automatically flow to this global currency type. This is, just keep this in mind when you are doing the configuration. I will be showing how it flows in the detailed way. Okay, now you understand the currency. So what is a currency, how many currencies you can define in the system, and what are the additional currencies which you can define in the system. Now, so after that, let's understand the navigation codes. For example, how to log off SAP system, how you can log off the SAP system. So either you can go for system and log off. This is one way. Okay, systems log off. It will ask me yes or no. And after that, in the same way, without going to systems and log off, you can click on the second option, which is /n/n end. What is it? /n end. Okay. So if I go for /n end, it will give me a pop-up whether I can log off or not. No. Now the third one is /nex. So if you use this command, the system will won't ask any pop-up. So it will directly close the system. /nex, enter. So all my screens are closed and the system is closed. Again, I need to log into the system. Now the second thing is, so navigation between the T codes. without opening a new session. How to navigate? How to navigate between the T codes without opening new session. For example, so in the start screen, suppose if I want to go for a company code, either I can hit a transaction code, correct, or else. So let me take you. So before this, to configure the system, we have three ways. 1, 2, 3. One is either you can go for SPRO, IMG, okay. So SPRO, enter IMG. You will be going to your configuration screen, or else you will be clicking SIMG. Without clicking the IMG, you can bypass this with SIMG. So in the fresh screen, I will go with SIMG, enter. So without clicking the IMG screen, I am directly coming to this navigation screen. And the third option would be path. Okay, to navigate, we have only two options, but now so SIMG. So either you need to access through the path also, right? If I want to go for a ledger view, so either I can go with SPRO IMG and this path, or else I can directly click on SIMG and I can navigate to the particular transaction code. Now, so how to navigate between the T codes without opening a system? So let's take one scenario. So in the start screen, when I am giving a transaction code, for example, OX02, here I can go for a company code, right? I can create a new company code. Now, if I want to go for a company, which is the transaction code is OX15, if I click here OX15 and press enter, the system is going to the that company screen. No, right? It's only stays here. So now I need to use /n. /n, you give your OX15 company code. So OX15 transaction code. Now your screen is changed. So what the system has done? So you have given /n, right? /n, enter. Either you can hit on enter or you can click on this button. Click. So system is coming back and again it is taking your transaction code OX15 and again it is hitting enter. So, so this is the process in the background the system is going through. But you can directly, so when you are in the screen without opening a new session and closing this session, so you if you don't want this, what you will do, you will just close this, right? Close this and open a new session, and here you will be entering a fresh transaction, right? To avoid this, what we have, will be using /n in the same screen. Without closing that screen, you'll be using the /n and you'll be giving the transaction as an input, so that you can go to the transaction code. So this is one way. One way is like in the start screen, you directly can input the T code without using /n. So the second one is you need to use /n. Why you use /n? When you are in a transaction code and when you are in a transaction code, let's from now name it as T code. So when you are in a transaction code and you want to open another session, then when you want to open another session, which means another T code in the same session without closing it. Okay, we use /n when you want to use the same session without closing the session. So we'll call session in the sense different windows will be calling it as session. So you'll be opening another window. So this is one session and this is another session. So without opening another session and inputting your transaction code freshly, you can use the same screen. You can use the same screen by clicking on /n and giving your transaction code. So now the third thing is, so now what I have done here, so to open this, to open a new session, what I have done, I have clicked this new GUI window. Once I click, a new session has been opened, correct? So and again manually I need to give the transaction code OX15. If I want to navigate to some transaction code, I can give the input. So without doing this process, so opening a new screen and entering the transaction code in the same screen, in the same screen which you are using, I'll be going for /o ox 15. Enter. Now the system will open a new screen. Okay. So for example, it's saying like if I am a change view, it's saying I will display you. Okay. Now let me again open that /o ox 15. Enter. Now what the system is doing without opening a new, so for you your time will get saved, right? Without you opening a new session and you are going to use this transaction, it will be, you can directly give a command /o and you'll be giving the transaction code. So a new session will be opened with your intended transaction code /o. To open new session with the T code, which you want. Now you also have /i, where what /i will do. So /i, what is done? It will be using for to close the session /i. This is used to close the session. So without you hitting like close and S, it will directly close the session. And you can't use /nex. If I use /nex, it will be closing all my sessions and it will be directly going for my logon pad to give the again to log in again. But whereas /i will only close the current session and it will be opening, it will be giving me to open the other sessions, but I don't have the same feasibility when I use the /nex. Okay, so these are some of the navigation tools which can save your time in SAP. Now after that, so now we are going through the transaction code. So like now we are going to create the companies, right? We are going to create the going for the enterprise structure. So before going to the enterprise structure, before configuring a new company code, so you need to have few questions in your mind. Okay, if you are doing any configuration, we have to question ourselves the following points. So this is the main task for any consultant. So before you got the client requirement. Okay, the client told that boss, create a new company code. Okay, now, so before creating a new company code, what and all the points you need to think of? The first one is object. So what is the object of this configuration? So what exactly you are configuring? What exactly you are configuring? And the second thing is, what is the purpose of the configuration? So it is not like you got a requirement from the client and you have done it and you have given to the client. So that don't work in that way. Okay, you should first think of this. So what exactly you are configuring and what is the purpose of the configuration? So the client has given me to create a new company code. So now what exactly you are configuring? What I am configuring? I am configuring a new company code. So what is the purpose of the configuration? So the purpose of the configuration is the client has registered the company legally and to do the operations in the particular country. So that, so to create a company code, you will ask the client the legal registration form. So that in the legal registration form, you will have the ROC number, and after that you will be asking the VAT registration form and GST registration form, so that you will have the VAT number and GST number. So without the proof you can create a company code, correct? So you'll ask the proofs for the client. So what is the purpose of the configuration? That is the purpose. Now the second thing is where to configure. So you also need to know where to configure exact SPRO path and T code. So you want to know the exact SPRO path. After that, you need to know T code, and after that you need to know in which system you need to configure, correct? So in which system and in which client? Generally we configure in dev system and 100 client. So you need to know that, right? So in the dev, in the 200 client also, so in the 300 clients also, the system will allow you to do the changes, because development system alone will be giving you an access to the change access, correct? Now you only should do the your configuration in 100 and you should move it to the 300 client and do the testing. So you also need to know the which client you want to do the testing. Okay, and so you also know, like, there is a client dependency. Is there any client dependency, or else changes made in a client will affect one or more clients? For example, or cross client. So client dependency in the sense it is limited to the client 100 only. So for example, I have 100 client, 200 client and 300 client. So if I do a configuration change, so what is client dependent and what is cross client? For example, client dependent in the sense, so if I am doing the configuration in client 100, until and unless if I move the configuration from 100 client to 300 client with a TR, the changes will not move, correct? But what the cross client configuration is, if I change in one client, the changes will be applicable in all the clients in the system. The changes will be applicable in all the clients in the system. So that is the functionality. So when you are configuring, you should also see that functionality. So when you are doing the configuration, so if it affects all the clients, then it will be a, you should not act like that. So that the user want to only test in one client, right? So if it is changing all the clients, then that will not make sense, correct? Now the third point is how to configure. So you know, like where to configure. Now how to, so how to configure, you need to question yourself. So what are the steps to configure? So before we said, for example, to post a JE, to post a general entry, what you want, we want account groups, right? So to create account groups, what do we want? We want chart of accounts, right? So to create a chart of accounts, so once you created a chart of accounts, in turn that need to be assigned to a company code, correct? So you need to have these predefined steps in your mind, correct? So if you get a configuration, it is not like just you will be creating a company and you will giving to the client. So if I want to create a company and if I want to create a company code, what are the prerequisites? For that company code, you have so many sub objects to be configured for that company code. It's not like you create the company code and give to the client. There are so many dependencies, correct? Now after that, you'll be having results. So what is the result of this? So now I'll be creating a new company code. The result is to post the general entry in the particular company code. Post the general entry in the company code and see the reports. Okay. So I'll be creating a company code for the reporting purpose and to post the general entries to the particular company code. Now after that, so and you also need to see the impact on the other components. So for example, you need to see if you are doing the changes, some changes based on the configuration. So you need to see the impact. So what is the impact it is having in the system? For example, so changing field status can suddenly make a required field optional or hidden. So breaking posting template. What I mean is impact on FI. So you have the field status variant. So if the client asks you to change, so in the field status variant, you will have a group. You have G001. So whereas this field status is assigned to a general ledger. Suppose say rent account. You have rent account. Okay. In rent account, I have a field where the text field is optional before. Now the client, you have got a ticket, you are in a support project and you have got a ticket and the client asks for the G0001 group, make this optional field as suppress. So he don't want to see this text field. Now what changes you have done? So you'll be suppressing it. Okay. So now what is the functionality? Now when other users are, now the what is the result? Now when other users are trying to use the, see the text field, it would be option, it will be surprise. They won't see this text field at all when they are posting the rent. Now what will happen? There is a business inconsistency. So if there is a report, there is a predefined report which is developed based on this text field, correct? So if the text is something, so show that particular line item in this report. So there would be an inconsistency now. So if someone is using that report and these line items will won't show up for the rent because nothing is inputted in the text field. So your configuration now impacted other components. So is this what you want? No, right? So if then the client will come back to you and escalate you because you have done the wrong configuration. So you should, if the client asks you to do that, you also cross question to the client. Why you want to create this optional and surplus? So if this text field is surplus, then what is the impact? The consultant should think of it. What is the impact? So you should ask the ABAPer like whether this text field is used in any other reports. If the answer is yes, you should tell the client or the user like this text field is used in different reports. So get your manager approval or some other approval, business process approval to make this field status variant group as optional or surplus. So it is your duty to also, because the client is your client, right? So if you suggest something, you will get a good impression from the client, correct? So you should be in a conscious mind and you should think of the impact on the other components. And after that, reversal or dependency risks. So now what you have done, once you have done the configuration, so the tier is already moved to the production. Once a tier is moved to the production, there is no control Z, correct? So here if you are creating a control Z, it will go back and it will undo the changes, but there is no control Z when the tier is moved to the production. So you need to be more conscious on what changes you have done. So you often need another control change in extreme cases, data fixes with the. So if you have done the, for example, if you have moved the TR to the production, so you have done some configuration. Now what happens is like the configuration went wrong. Okay. So if the configuration went wrong, now there you have two options. One option is like again modify the config. Suppose there is a report for which you have given and that report is showing now the wrong values. In the test environment it's shown correctly, but here it's showing the wrong values. Now you will modify the configuration and again push the config to PRD, or else push the config. This is the only way you have. Okay. Or else you can directly change it to production. For that super user access need to be done. So it is not a normal way where you will be going to the production and changing the things. Okay. You often need a basis team or ABAP support to fix this, correct? So these are the points you need to keep in mind before doing any configuration. Any configuration is, if it is a small configuration also, you should keep these points in mind. Then only you can be survive as a good consultant. You will be a good consultant. It is not like client giving you the requirement and you will be doing that requirement and giving back to the client. That won't work in that way. To be a good consultant, you need to question this yourself. If the following questions, you have answers for all these following questions, then only you should start the configuration. If you don't have the questions, get the answers and start the configuration. Now how you will be doing the configuration. Navigation, how you will be navigating it. So the navigation, either you can navigate through path, or else you can navigate through SPRO IMG, okay, or else you can be going with SIMG, or else T code. So the navigation options you have is either you can go by the path, either you can go with SPRO IMG, or else you can go with the T code. For example, so either I can go with the path, in the sense I go for SPRO IMG. Suppose if I want to create a company code, okay, what is the path? I go to enterprise structure, I go for definitions, financial accounting, and here I have to create a company code or create a company. So either you can navigate through this path, or else I can use a direct transaction code. To know the transaction code, what I will do, additional information, display key, IMG activities. Now, what is the transaction code here? It is the last 4-digit numbers would be the transaction code of a particular activity or a task. So now you can go for OX02. Now if I hit on OX02, I can directly go through that transaction code. Okay. So you have these many ways to navigate. Now, so from tomorrow's class, we will be seeing, in the tomorrow's class, we will be seeing the defining the enterprise structure. We'll be creating a company code, and also we'll be seeing how from the path. So from the path, how you can navigate to define the particular objects to complete the baseline configuration. So to complete the baseline configuration, what you need to do first? So you need to define define this task, and after that, what you need to do? You need to assign this task, correct? So you'll be creating this task company code as I have explained you. After that, you'll be assigning here, and so where you will be doing your as a FICO consultant, where you will be doing this, doing the changes, where you will be doing it. So for FI related configuration, you will be doing in financial accounting, whereas for CO related configuration or management accounting related configuration, you will be doing in the controlling. Okay. So now let's go to financial accounting. So here, you here to do the baseline configuration, we use these two components. After that, we have an accounts receivable, right? So we have accounts receivable, accounts payable. So in the GL accounting, we discussed like we'll be discussing on accounts. So in FI, I said like we'll be discussing on the GL accounting part, accounts receivable, accounts payable, and bank accounting, correct, and asset accounting. So we'll be going with this flow. Now what financial accounting global settings consist of, and what GL account consists of? GL account is used to prepare. So when you are trying to post a GL account, so what and all the prerequisites you have? So you need to have a controlling area, correct? So the controlling area is a master data activity. So GL account creation is a master data activity. Now when you go to GL account, master data GL account preparation, so you will have all the components where you can create a controlling area. So where you can create a chart of accounts and assign that chart of accounts and define account groups and define retained earnings. In the same way, you have these business transactions. So where you will be seeing this document splitting concept, and in the open item clearing, you'll be seeing the tolerance groups. You're also creating these tolerance groups for your baseline configuration. So after the GL account, after you can go for financial accounting global settings. So here what you can see the documents. So so to create a document, you want a document type after number ranges, correct? So after that you'll have this many so you can navigate through this. So first, the main thing is you should know how to navigate, correct? So if you go for the ledgers, so in the ledgers you can see you can define your fiscal year and posting period variant, correct? So this is the global settings. So apart from the GL, any baseline configuration you do, it will be there in the financial accounting global settings. So that you need to keep in mind. So in the tomorrow's class, we will be explaining the path. So in the path, what and all the configuration is there, and based on the path, we'll be defining the transaction codes. And after that, based on the transaction codes, we'll be doing the configuration. We'll be configuring the system based on our predefined we have defined, right? We have defined our enterprise structure. So we'll be creating the company codes. After that, based on the posting periods, so based on the fiscal year variant, we'll be creating the our based on the financial year, we'll be creating fiscal year variant, and for this fiscal year variant we'll have the posting periods. And after that we'll be defining the business area, consolidation business area, we'll be defining the functional areas. So everything is in our Excel now. So first, if you are doing any configuration for a client, if you are doing any configuration to a client, you should know, right? You should know the hierarchy. You should know the hierarchy, what you are configuring to the client. So this is the rule. This rule you need to question to your mind. So where is the configuration? How to configure? Okay. So what is the purpose of the configuration? That you need to question mark. And how to configure, what are the steps, you need to have all the steps in your mind. So that steps need to be documented somewhere, correct? So this is our documentation. So with this documentation only we'll be starting the configuration of our system. So in the tomorrow's class we'll be checking out what and all the predefined steps, what all the steps we need to have to define the baseline configuration in the enterprise structure, and also the in the FI module, what are all the predefined configuration steps we need to follow to post a particular document. Yeah, so we are done with the session. Thanks team, thanks for your time. Let's connect tomorrow's class. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, Manoj.
Thank you, Abhilash. Bye.